Welcome back. The second installment of Elon Musk's Twitter files has been dropped today on the social media website. It sheds light on the company's practices earlier of secretly blacklisting certain tweets and users, especially conservative voices in the US. The revelations include several images of what appears to be an internal communication system that marked certain accounts as being under various kinds of blacklists, and processes involved were arbitrary at best. The first installment of the Twitter files, remember, exposed how the company suppressed Hunter Biden's laptop story during the 2020 presidential elections. The decision to censor the Hunter Biden story were made at the highest levels at Twitter, but allegedly without the knowledge of its then CEO, Jack Dorsey. So what are the big revelations from this part of the files? It's actually what a lot of people already suspected. Take a look. Employees blacklisted and prevented disfavored tweets from trending. Visibility of quote right-wing accounts was limited without informing the users. Twitter stifled Stanford's Dr. Bhattacharya's opinion on COVID lockdowns and especially its impact on children in America. Right-wingers and conservatives were profiled as quote do not amplify. Shadow banning process named as visibility filtering or VF was used, and this was used to block and limit users' tweets' discoverability, posts and hashtag. So the big debate that's coming up, it's not really a debate. Frankly, we knew this. Is the truth not finally out? Let's take that to our guests. Aarti Agarwal is author and researcher. Sumansi Raman, political analyst. Anand Mittal is political analyst based in the US. Aarti, I'm coming to you. Frankly, this is not surprising anyone. Are you surprised by what has come out today? And do you have any doubts that this was certainly being done in India too?
Of course. So I think Twitter files is just confirming what we have already known all this time. And I'm personally relieved that the whole world can see it. It's up for everybody to see. There is a certain level of transparency now. But what I want to see is exactly to what extent were Indian accounts suppressed and what was the impact on the country, India? Because, our constitution supports freedom of speech as well. So to what extent were accounts holding a certain ideology banned or suppressed or suspended? And I mean, we already have our suspicions regarding that as well. But I think that part is also very, very pertinent, and we should ask for that kind of clarification as well about Twitter. So far, the focus has been on American voices and American ideologues, and I understand that Twitter being an American company. But as far as Indian policy is concerned, and Twitter is a very big platform even in India. It has so many users from India, and the fact that Vijaya Gadde and Parag Agrawal were Indian origin people, it makes even more sense for us to ask, is there some sort of implicit ideology being pushed in India as well?
No, so and the reason why that question becomes very important also, Aarti, is because there are a lot of people in India who have complained of either not being given reasons for why their accounts have been suspended, or the arbitrariness in why one tweet is sensitive while the other is not. Sumansi Raman, in India, people often claim that actually it's the left-wing voices or the quote-unquote right-wing voices who are amplified, the left-wing is suppressed. But actually, you look at a lot of practices that are coming out in the open of these social media giants who have become sovereign nations in themselves. The exact opposite is the truth. Is there any denying that this would have happened in India as well to quote-unquote right-wing voices or opinions that the likes of Vijay Gadde don't like?
Let's look at the evidence that has come out so far. There are some emails and there are internal communications on the basis of which, it's been said that accounts are being shadow banned and so on. Now, multiple officials from Twitter have clarified that they did resort to de-amplification, but did not actually do any shadow banning. Now, it may be splitting hairs. There may be a thin line between de-amplification and shadow banning. But the point really is, should a platform censor or, limit the reach of certain voices? Now, at the end of the day, there are no easy answers. I mean, if there are accounts that are spreading hatred, there are accounts that are calling for violence. Now, should the platform say, look, we are just a platform, we've got nothing to do with this, you please go ahead and you call for violence? I think that is inappropriate as well. So this is not a very simple question that can be answered. We do not know at this point of
No,
time
I don't
whether,
think, Sumant, anybody is
left-wing
supporting
accounts were
violence
also
or
banned.
hate
1
speech.
minute.
Just recently, Kanye West, now goes by the name just Ye, was suspended by Twitter under Elon Musk, who's a free speech absolutist.
But you will. One second. Let me just.
No, my point is, in this latest files, what has also come out, for example, that a doctor's opinion on COVID lockdowns was considered problematic. Now, who decides in Twitter that he can't voice that opinion?
One second. There are opinions which have to be put through some kind of filters. The point is who decides. We now know, and even now, I don't think we have been told the full story of what all was filtered. We now, again, Mr. Musk is definitely pro-right-wing, and therefore he is somebody who is keen on pushing out that right-wing people and right-wing tweets were censored. Now, where left-wing tweets also dealt with in the same way is something we may not know, unless Mr. Musk is going to be fully transparent about it. We don't know how, just like we do not know what the agenda was then of the previous owners of Twitter or those who control Twitter. We now do not know what is Musk's true agenda as well. We know his politics very clearly. He's right-wing, and he wants to make sure that the right-wing voices are not, de-amplified anymore. Mittal, I'm not sure we know the whole story for us to take a firm
Anand
stand
Mittal, you are somebody who watches American politics. Now, one of the biggest issues that is arising out of these Twitter files is of how the political narrative was controlled by Twitter at the height of political activity, especially around 2020 elections. The Hunter Biden story, you've got criticisms of COVID, lockdowns or policy in the US or vaccinations in the US, or, there are these gatekeepers who have no real qualifications of their own, who decided what is right and wrong and didn't let the public decide if they wanted to believe someone or not. Is this not going to be a major issue in America, given that Americans do value their freedom and their opinion freedom as well? What impact do you think these Twitter files will have?
I think it's going to have a lot of major impact, especially next year as the new Congress is sworn in and the Republicans start to control the House of Representatives. And I think there will be major hearings on this. A lot of executives will be called. A lot of former executives at Twitter will also be called by Congress to testify. I don't know if it's actually going to translate into social media legislation as some Republicans and conservatives want. But I think the real story here really is that it's a story of media collusion. It's reporters in the echo chamber of Twitter, the left-wing reporters, the progressive reporters who are friendly with the Democratic Party. They were lobbying Twitter and other social media companies to do their bidding. And so, for example, what's come out is one of the very prominent accounts called Libs of TikTok that merely reposts videos on their account without putting any perspective on those videos or saying that, this person should be banned or arrested or whatever. Though that account was seen as a very, very, an account that was inciting violence by the reporters. So the media was saying this account is evil, and then they were lobbying Twitter to ban that account. And so what you see in the behind the scenes, the moderation tools, is that the account was indeed it was marked as that it would not be suspended without, executive approval, but yet the account was suspended multiple times. So what that shows is that the people behind the scenes were not even following their own policies. They weren't even following their own rubric for their own metrics for what accounts as hate speech. So Yoel Roth, the executive, was talking to Trust and Safety, was talking to legal, and was saying, well, technically this account doesn't count as hate speech. Yet that account was marked for hate speech, was banned, was shadow banned, not banned, but shadow banned. And so that's the real story here, is that the left, that executives at Twitter, the sort of top people at Twitter, without the knowledge of the CEO, were basically essentially not conspiring, but colluding. So if a reporter on Twitter publicly says this account is evil, then the executives behind the scenes were making moves to make sure that that account was shadow banned, and so that they wouldn't lose credibility.
Sumant, I have 30 seconds, please. 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds. My simple point on this is, unless you have a comprehensive list of all accounts that face this kind of action, it is extremely difficult to attribute motives to anyone. Now, we know that certain right-wing accounts were banned, and the right-wing is now, having made these discoveries, is now making a big noise about it. Now, where left-wing accounts banned? Is this the full story?
Okay.
Or is there an agenda in selectively saying right-wing accounts were targeted when left-wing accounts may also have faced quote-unquote shadow banning / de-amplification? We don't know at this point of time.
I think you made that point.
So that is my,
but I think one larger story that is coming
picture
out of these Twitter files is that there indeed existed a cozy club of people who all liked each other, didn't like the same set of people, and they did set about to minimizing their voices, and that there were own practices not being followed. The word echo chamber is very correct here that Anand Mittal used. It was amplification of your own ecosystem. As it stands today, that's what we know, Sumant. And it has really, brought to fruition the fears of many people who've had in India too. But we hope, as Sumant is saying, let all the data come out, let all the facets come out. Let's sort this out, because there is a big concern of how social media bodies and companies are behaving. Let's wait and see what happens. I do thank our guests for joining us. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Plain Speak. The Right Stand is up next.